Oh my god, I can't believe what I just watched. Without a doubt, and I'm saying this seriously, one of the best things I've seen in Star Wars, and this episode made me like tear up so many times. God damn, spoilers, dude. Vader, Obi-Wan meet up for the first time in the series, and I don't think it's gonna be the last, let me tell you, because the finale is gonna be much grander, bigger, and much more beautiful as well. Alright, I don't want to ramble anymore. Let's get the breakdown started. Episode 3 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series starts inside the cargo ship. This is the scene we've seen in the trailer as well. Obi-Wan basically contemplating by what has just happened. He found out that Anakin is still alive and he basically can't believe it. He's still calling to Qui-Gon, but he does not answer. Interspliced between Obi-Wan meditating is another shot we saw in the trailers of Anakin being reassembled as Darth Vader, turning from a man to a literal machine. We also see something we didn't see in the trailers, and that is the face of Darth Vader. It's very hard to see from the recording itself, but I managed to pause some frames here and there to realize that yes, in this shot, Anakin has yellow eyes. If you were wondering, well, it's always a puzzle with him because we've seen him in the comics. Sometimes he does not have full-on yellow eyes, if Vader is in full rage mode or not. And I also like the aspect of we never fully see Anakin's face. In the first episode, we see Vader with the breathing tubes, and we can only see his eyes basically and the upper head. The same goes for this shot too. We don't see his mouth or his chin. We only see his nose, eyes, and his head. With a terrorizing breath, Vader is assembled. Obi-Wan is justifiably frightened, and in the same back-to-tank chamber room, I should call it, that we saw in Rogue One, from the same place emerges Darth Vader as we saw him in the screenshot released earlier. He walks on to begin his journey towards finding Obi-Wan. If I can give credit to this series for one thing is that it doesn't waste time. The next shot is immediately a reveal shot of Vader's castle on Mustafar. Lava is everywhere, and we get a glimpse of Vader's quote-unquote office, throne room, something in between. This is where he practically takes his meetings, and he is actually talking to Reva. So we hear James Earl Jones again. Vader does not care if the Grand Inquisitor is dead, and as I said in a previous video, here it is confirmed that for all intents and purposes he is dead. Reva says so, and Vader does not care. All he cares about is finding Obi-Wan, and if she actually delivers, Vader promises the position of Grand Inquisitor to her. Quick note on James Earl Jones's voice. So I think two things happened here. Either they used the same technology as they used on Mark Hamill to de-age his voice, basically make it younger, because James Earl Jones sounds significantly younger here. He very much sounds like he did in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. We saw that problem reoccurring in Rogue One, where James Earl Jones definitely sounded older, even in Star Wars Rebels to a degree. There are some moments that led me to believe that they used two actors to mix a younger actor and James Earl Jones interspliced in between. Some words sounded like somebody else and some words sounded like Vader. I might be looking too much into this, so I'm just gonna move on. As he does so in the Imperial Bridge, he stands up, looks on into the distance, planning and scheming. We go back to Obi-Wan, and the cargo ship is moving slower. Leia is complaining, and she says to use the Force. Obi-Wan tells him that that's not how the Force works. Kind of a nod to the Star Wars sequels, where Rey has a similar problem, not knowing how the Force works, and Luke teaching her. Yeah, I know, I don't like to mention sequels either, but what's most important, Lola is finally fixed. Obi-Wan at least gives Leia some glimpse of hope as they finally arrive on Mapuzo, the mining planet that was once not desolate as it is right now. Obi-Wan pretty much explains so, saying that back during the Republic era, this planet was filled with people, with families. Now it's desolate since the Empire took over, and it's only mining it for profit. Another instance where the writers showcased Obi-Wan's hopelessness. As he even says himself, it seems like fighting against the Empire is a losing battle. As you can see, stormtroopers kinda mistreating farmers too, but out of the corner of his eye, he sees a Jedi in Jedi robe with his back turned. We are led to believe that this might be a glimpse of Qui-Gon, but when the Jedi turns, it is actually Anakin. Hayden Christensen makes his first appearance as Anakin, the Obi-Wan series. We saw him as Vader previously, now as Anakin. I guess the circle is complete. We cut to Reva's shuttle heading for Fortress Inquisitorius. As she lands and departs by herself, everybody is standing in attention. This hallway was, if I'm not mistaken, a Ralph McQuarrie original painting that they repurposed in the Obi-Wan series for this shot more specifically, and of course it is spectacular and beautiful. In a way, stormtroopers have a living, breathing aquarium right there. The beauty is uncanny. The walk to the briefing room, though, did seem like a lot. Reva was walking for a long time, just something that I noticed. But as soon as she enters, the fifth brother is ready to go head-to-head with Reva. Another shot we saw in the trailer. The fifth brother uses the Force to actually show Reva who is in charge. But Reva, instead of answering with the Force herself, she actually answers with her cunning, as she informs the fifth brother that she has talked to Darth Vader himself, who has ordered to send probes to these mining planets. Reva had discovered so in the manifest of those cargo ships. When the fifth brother finds this out, both of the Inquisitors relent and they execute Vader's/Reva's orders. We are not accustomed to seeing how things work exactly in Star Wars, but this was a cool shot to see how the probes are made ready and dispatched for investigation. Now Leia and Obi-Wan are heading for the coordinates exactly where Haja told them to be. During this time, however, we see that Obi-Wan has become extremely distrustful during his stay on Tatooine. What I think the writers wanted to showcase here more so is not only Obi-Wan's change of character on Tatooine, but the effects of the sudden news of Anakin's survival. He is on edge. He is anxious, he is nervous all the time. That's why he is so snippy with Leia. Leia says one thing and Obi-Wan kinda yells at her twice. While Leia is still hopeful that somebody will come, Obi-Wan immediately snaps at her. It is at this point that Leia sees a transport and starts walking towards the transport to see if they can get a ride to the spaceport. Leia presents herself as Luma, and instead of saying, "This is my father," she says to Obi-Wan, "This is my friend," at first, and then corrects herself by saying her father, Orden. They are farmers from Tal. This was a previously agreed to story in Dayu. The driver also presents himself as Freck, and he offers both of them a ride to the spaceport. However, we see him as being a little suspicious. Obi-Wan is pretty much having a panic attack at this moment, especially when he sees the Imperial flag at the back. Freck makes it abundantly clear that he is pro-Empire. In fact, he is the biggest supporter of the Empire that I have seen in Star Wars aside from Imperials, and even then, I got some questions. Now we get 4 stormtroopers hitching for a ride as well, and Obi-Wan is acting as casual as they can. However, the stormtroopers tell Freck they're looking for a Jedi. As much as the stormtrooper is trying to be inquisitive, smartly Leia and Obi-Wan hatch a new story that they have come here for Orden to show Luma the first time he met her mother, the mother that now is dead. An intentional sobbing story just to push off the stormtrooper. Obi-Wan even at one point fumbles and calls her Leia, to which he then corrects that Leia is her deceased mother, and that's why he called her that. He gets confused sometimes. It's been a sad time. The troopers go off about their business. Unsurprisingly though, Leia realizes that Obi-Wan once upon a time knew her mother. Her real mother, Padme. Although Leia doesn't know who her real mother and her real father is, she is saddened by this fact, and a weird thing happens. Leia asks if Obi-Wan is her real father, to which Obi-Wan says, "I wish it was so." I kinda took this as Obi-Wan telling Leia that if you only knew who your father was, I wish I was your father and not that monster Anakin. But it could be misinterpreted. I think rumors about Obi-Wan and Padme has been circulating for a long time. So I don't know what to make of it, but what happens next is even more crazier. In canon, guys, keep in mind, in canon, we just realized by Obi-Wan talking about how he was taken as a child from his family, he remembers his mother, his father, but more importantly, he remembers his brother. So Obi-Wan in canon has a brother in Stu Jon that he has never seen again, and by all intents and purposes, he is still alive out there somewhere. There's another Kenobi in the galaxy, and as far as we know, he might be also Force sensitive. I mean, they are brothers after all, and it is not that crazy to think that siblings do share Force abilities sometimes. Disney did not just put this out there by accident. Obi-Wan's brother will come into play sooner or later, and I hope this is a hint that there is a season 2, guys, and that Obi-Wan and his brother will reunite in Obi-Wan season 2. God, I hope that's the case. But unfortunately, once they come to a checkpoint, they are finally discovered. They call in a probe droid, Protocol 23, and the probe droid identifies Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan raises his blaster, shoots the probe droid, shoots the stormtroopers, and again we see the fighting ability of Obi-Wan. He has maybe lost his dueling skills and his Force abilities, but not his fighting abilities. And right in the nick of time comes a woman disguised as an Imperial officer, shoots down the rest of the stormtroopers, and we later realize that this disguised woman was the rendezvous that Haja sent, only they left before she could meet them. With the probe droid destroyed, the Inquisitors find out that they are in fact in Mapuzo, although it seems that the fifth brother has stolen Reva's thunder, her credit. Now both are vying for the Grand Inquisitor position. Quick note, the Inquisitors are also compiling a lightsaber collection similar to Grievous. As you can see here on the side, they have several lightsabers displayed on the mantle, an interesting nod to our great General Grievous. Now the fake Imperial officer sends them into the hideout. We see the loader droid as well that we saw in the trailer. His name is Ned B. Once Obi-Wan enters, he is mystified. This is one of the safe houses that they have around the galaxy, hiding fugitive, Jedi, and so forth. All these people who are hiding from the Empire, they send them to Jabim. Another great Legends mention, she hints at the fact that they hide a lot of children here, a lot of Force-sensitive children, since the Empire hunts them down. And the one in charge of hiding the Force-sensitive children, Obi-Wan discovers that this is Quinlan Vos. Dudes, we just got a mention of Quinlan Vos in the Obi-Wan series, and I told you, I talked about it in a video where Quinlan Vos could make a cameo in the Obi-Wan series. Perhaps not a physical cameo, but we got a mention, so I'm chalking it up as a point. Imperials have started scouting the place, knowing that there's a Jedi hiding amongst them. In a panic, Tia now tells the pilot to get ready, that they are leaving immediately. Just as they're about to leave, however, Obi-Wan gets a cold, shivering feeling. And when the camera pans outside, we see stormtroopers, we see the Inquisitors, and finally, we see Darth Vader. Since he found out that Obi-Wan is on this planet, he wanted to handle this matter personally. Obi-Wan is looking on, shocked to see his former apprentice in his new black attire. The whole town is terrorized. They have entered their houses, but this does not mean that you are safe from Darth Vader. As he can probably deduce that Obi-Wan is watching him at this moment, Vader starts terrorizing people around the town. He picks up an old man and crushes his windpipe with the Force, lifting him up in the air. Now, in all my years in Disney Star Wars, I have never seen them be this cunning, to the point where even in the movies, in the Star Wars sequels, they were tame and afraid to experiment with dark Star Wars. This was pretty dark, because this guy's kid walks out yelling out, "Dad." Vader, without hesitation, grabs this kid's neck and breaks it clean off with a flick of a wrist. It is so horrifying that even Reva, the most ruthless Inquisitor we have seen yet, even she is shocked by how heartless Vader really is. And it is kind of confirmed, yes, Vader is still killing younglings 10 years later after Order 66. He has no problem with killing children if it means achieving his goal. Next, he grabs a woman and drags her kicking and screaming. With no other choice, Obi-Wan tells Leia to go with Tala and that he will be right behind you, deceiving her and telling Tala to save her, as he knows that he cannot jeopardize Leia's safety anymore now that Vader is here. Previously, Vader stopped and kind of sensed something, a nod to A New Hope where Vader senses something he hasn't felt since, and he moves on. Same here, he kind of looks for Obi-Wan, senses him, but could not find him at that moment. It is not until we see Obi-Wan around some digging sites that, same as A New Hope, Vader was waiting for him. He had sensed Obi-Wan, and he knew where he could locate him. All we see is a hand, a lightsaber, and a red blade igniting, as Obi-Wan is terrified. He is so terrified, in fact, that he just simply runs away and does not confront Vader. This is the first time that Vader has spoken to Obi-Wan in over 10 years, and he says, "You cannot run, Obi-Wan," as Obi-Wan in a panic ignites his blue blade. Vader again approaches Kenobi, and in shock, Obi-Wan asks Anakin, "What have you become?" To which Vader replies, "What you have made me." Outright telling Obi-Wan that I look like a monster because you burned me alive, left me to die on Mustafar. Again, Obi-Wan elects to run away. In the meantime, Reva discovers the hiding spot of the Jedi. Similar to how he ambushed Luke, Vader does the same thing with Obi-Wan. Jumps out of nowhere, and we finally get a duel between Master and Apprentice, although they have completely switched sides by now because even Vader realizes that Obi-Wan has lost a step or two. Obi-Wan is not as skilled of a duelist that he once was, and especially he is not the Force user he once was. He has been so long that he's been detached from the Force that he cannot prevent Vader's attacks. Now Tala tells Leia to keep running until she reaches the port and the pilot will meet her there. She wants to go back and help Obi-Wan. Back to the duel though, Vader completely has the upper hand. Even Vader realizes that he has become weak and that he should have killed him when they had the chance. Without wasting any more time, Vader picks up Obi-Wan with the Force, spills some spice from what it looks like, and ignites a fire from it. This was a very cool shot, seeing Vader in the background and in the foreground are just flames. We now realize what Vader really wants. He wants Obi-Wan not just to die, but to suffer what he went through. He wants to burn Obi-Wan alive, and he drags him inside the flames as Obi-Wan is screaming, similar to how Anakin was on Mustafar. Even Vader says that his pain has just begun. Now again, a surprising twist, and I think Vader showed himself a little bit, showed a tingle of light inside of him. Because instead of leaving Obi-Wan to burn alive and die, he pushes Obi-Wan outside the flames, and then turns the fire off with the Force, telling the stormtroopers to bring the now burned up Obi-Wan to him. Presumably, he was going to take him to his castle to torture him some more, or I guess we'll never know. It is at that point that Tala shoots down the spice cargo, and the explosion lets out even more flames, creating a barrier between Vader and Obi-Wan. The loader droid goes on to pick up Obi-Wan and save him in the end, but here's an interesting thing. The camera intentionally kept going back to Darth Vader just looking on. In Legends, Darth Vader could pass these flames with ease. Even his cape was fire resistant. I can safely say that that is the same case for canon as well. In the comics, we've seen Darth Vader achieve tremendously great things as he can right now. He can use the Force to pull Obi-Wan to him. He could maybe even choke Obi-Wan to death. And he can pass these fires. For a moment I thought he would, but he didn't. He let Obi-Wan escape, he let Obi-Wan live, and he just simply turned back. Is it possible that Darth Vader just showed Obi-Wan mercy? The question is why? Well, I'm gonna tackle this in a video very soon because I have my suspicions and I am convinced that Darth Vader let Obi-Wan live. He could have easily killed him right now, but he elected to not. Sadly though, this isn't over, as in the end, Reva not only discovered their hiding place, but she discovered the pilot waiting for Leia as well. In the end, it is shown she has killed a pilot and takes Leia hostage. So episode 4 is shaping up to be the most epic thing ever in the finale for this series. Guys, this is gonna be the most craziest thing ever after episode 3. All cards are on the table. I don't know what we can expect. So thank you so much for watching this review. Through the week, I'm gonna talk a lot more about this series. Subscribe for more, leave a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.